All right, so yesterday we finished the notes. So if you were not here, we learned how to put polynomials in standard form, which is a really big portion of your unit test. So make sure you know how to do that, because I think in every single question, whether you're like adding, subtracting, multiplying polynomials, it will say make sure your answer is in standard form. So even if you're right, and you don't put it in standard form, that's a -1 on each problem. All right, so just make sure you know how to do that. That's what you'll be tested on today too with your exit ticket. You also need to be able to classify them by degree and term. Common test questions that I see are list these polynomials from least to greatest based on degree, or list them from least to greatest based on term. So just prepare yourself for that. I can't recall if this is on your exit ticket or not, but we also did adding and subtracting polynomials, so make sure you know how to do that for your test. If you need a refresher real quick before the exit ticket, you can watch some of the videos from yesterday or some of these other videos that are here. And when I come around and check the practice while you take your exit tickets, I'm only holding you accountable for the evens or the odds. But I think the whole page is definitely doable, especially because right now I'm going to give you like 10 minutes to finish your practice. And then we'll take our exit ticket right after. So definitely use that. You can check your answers as you go on the wall, but that is good practice for your test. Just reminding you, the blue folders are due February 4th, unless you were like absent a long time, just do the math yourself. You get an extension equal to the amount of days you were absent. I did update grades probably like an hour ago, so anything that's marked missing is truly missing. So a lot of you didn't do the Google form, so maybe after your exit ticket, you go and you need to take care of that. So any questions? All right, I'm gonna put a timer up for the practice because maybe some of you still need to finish it. So I'll only give you like 9 minutes or so. We're starting the 6-2 lesson so that we can stay on schedule to take your topic test on February 8th. So still a little ways away. Today we're going to learn how to multiply a monomial by a polynomial. So a lot of the success criteria is stuff you've done all year, so I have faith in you. You need to be able to remove parentheses by distributing. You need to be able to recognize and combine like terms, and then use the product rule and power rule when multiplying monomials. So the last one's a little bit more new, but we did it in the 6-0 lesson, so we're just applying it again in this lesson, product rule and the power rule. So I'm recording now. I'll link it in the slides just like I always do. So if you're ever absent, make sure you're following along and getting those notes for your binder check. The practice that you picked up on your way into class, the 6-2 practice, I'm just going to hold you accountable for the evens or odds. But if you want to do the whole thing, go ahead. You'll see the answers for the whole thing when we do check them in class. So I highly encourage that. So far, my classes have not been able to finish the notes, but I imagine that tomorrow we'll finish. You'll have time to practice, and we may or may not be doing the exit ticket for this lesson. It just depends how far we get. Otherwise, it'll be Monday, so we'll just have to see. Any questions? All right, so then have this note sheet in front of you, the one that looks like this. It's the one you picked up on your way in. And the multiplying, it's actually split up into 2 lessons. So for this lesson, we're just looking at a monomial, which, what does a monomial mean? One term. So we're looking at one term polynomials times a polynomial. So what does poly mean? Or it means many. So formally, like the formal definition for polynomial is 4 or more terms. As you can see, like some of these are just 2 terms or 3 terms. A lot of the times they'll just generalize them all as polynomials. But just know, like on a test, you do have to know the difference between binomial and trinomial, things like that. All right, so to multiply a monomial and a polynomial, simply distribute the monomial to the polynomial. So the monomial is the 1 term. We're distributing it to both terms inside the parentheses. And then if there's 3 terms, all 3 terms, so however many there is. So when you're multiplying the coefficients, that's pretty normal. If it's 1 times 1, then it's going to stay 1 times 1. But for the variables with exponents, you use the product rule, which we'll fill in over here as a reminder. So what does the product rule say to do? Like if I have x to the a times x to the b, what do I do with the exponents? We add them, is correct. So if you needed to look it up in your flip book, that's perfectly fine. But it's also right here on your notes since we use it a lot in multiplying. So that's what we do with the variables. So let's look at example 1. First, we distribute, and then just take it 1 part at a time. What's x times x? X squared is correct. Earlier, my student said 2x, so if you thought that, make sure you use your product rule on your variables. So x to the first times x to the first equals x to the 1 plus 1, so x squared. All right, and then what's x times 4? 4x, and it's positive, so put plus 4x. All right, and then after distributing, just check, see if there's any like terms that we need to combine. There's not. Like terms have the same variable with the same exponent, so no, can't combine anything. And then check to see if it's in standard form. So is this in standard form? Yes, so then you box it up and you're finished. So standard form is alphabetical order with the higher exponent first. So good for example 1. Questions? All right, so then let's try example 2 where there's more than 2 things in the parentheses. They're still distributing and multiplying the outside by all the inside terms. So we're starting with these 2, 5m cubed times 3m squared. Just start with the coefficients. Those are normal. So what are the coefficients? 5 and 3 are the coefficients, so multiply them together. What's 5 times 3? 15. And then use your product rule on the m, on the variable. So it's m cubed times m squared. Rule says to add the exponents, so it's going to be m to what power? 5. All right, and then you just move on to the next one. So I have 5m cubed times negative m. So 5 times negative 1, what's that? Negative 5. And then on the variables, use that product rule. So m cubed times m is m to the 4. Right, because what's the exponent if it's not written? 1. So 3 plus 1 is 4. All right, last term in the parentheses. So what's 5 times negative 7? Good, so write minus 35. And then that one doesn't have an m, so what do? You write m cubed, so it doesn't like just go away the m. There's no other m in the other term, but you just carry it over. It's like having m cubed times 1. All right, so after distributing, look at your answer. Do I need to combine like terms in this one? No, there's no like terms. They would need to all be m to the 5th or something like that to combine them. So no, are they in standard form? Yes, so then we're finished there. Questions on example 2? All right, so I'm going to give you a couple to try. So let's try number 1. Oops. All right, so you try number 1, number 3, and number 6. And you can use the ones we did up here as a guide. So try those 3 and we'll go over them in about 2 minutes. Good. First step is to distribute. So it's the outside term times all the inside terms, no matter how many there are. So what's k times k? K squared. Good. K times -9? -9k. And then after distributing, look at your answer. There's no like terms to combine. It is in standard form. So we're done with that one. Good. All right, so then number 3, same thing, distribute and just take it one term at a time and start with the coefficients. So like what's -6 times 1? -6, and then use the product rule on the p. So p to the 1st times p to the 4th is p to the 5th. All right, then the next term, coefficients, you just multiply like normal. What's -6 times -8? A +48. And don't forget, even if the 8 doesn't have a variable, this one does. So then you would just copy it over. P times 1 is P. All right, questions on number 3? Right, so here's 6, that's the other one I had you do. So distribute, and this time there's 3 terms inside. So a trinomial. X times x squared, what's that? X cubed is correct, so x to the 3rd. And then I have x times -x. So don't let the coefficients confuse you. It's just a 1 times a -1. What's that? -1. And then use the product rule on the x's. What's x times x? X squared. Good. You don't really need to write the 1, but you definitely need to write the minus sign. So make sure you have that in your answer. All right, and then what's x times 3? 3x is correct. Then just look at your answer. Are there any like terms that I need to combine? Is it in standard form already? So then we are finished. All right, so let's look at the more challenging ones. So scrolling down, let's look at the ones that have multiple letters. So like number 9. Same thing, you distribute the outside term by the inside terms. And just like when we did the exponent rules lesson, you need to keep your same bases together. So just take it like a piece at a time. I have p squared times p to the 5th. My new exponent on the p will be what? 7. because the product rule says you add the exponents. Good. What about on the cube? 3 plus 2 is 5. All right, so that's what we get for multiplying the first term by the outside term. Now, the second term. Coefficients, don't forget those. So I have a positive 1 times a negative 1. What do I get? Negative 1. And then you don't really need to write the 1, but definitely have the minus. And then what's p squared times p? P cubed, good. 2 plus 1 is 3. So if it's not written, the exponent is 1. And then q to the third power times q to the first, I get q to the fourth. All right. Do you guys want to see another one like that, or do you want to try one? Another one? All right. Let's look at one with minus signs. So like number 12. So 3ab times 4a squared. Let's start like piece by piece. What's 3 times 4? 12. And then what's a times a squared? A cubed. And the first term doesn't have a b, so what do I do? It's like having b times 1, so you still write it down, but I just don't have another one to apply the rule to. All right, then the next term. So 3ab times negative 7b cubed. What's 3 times negative 7? Negative 21. I don't have another a in this one, so I just copy it over. But I do have a b, so b times b cubed is b to the fourth is correct. All right, and then look at it. Are these like terms? No, it is written in standard form though, so alphabetical order. So a cubed before a to the first, that's good. So we're finished there. Questions? All right, then you guys try 10 and number 13. So 10 and 13, and then we'll try something a little different. All right, so now the next one that we're going to look at, so just a couple below it, and then we'll call it a day. So now there's other stuff involved in these examples. So we're not just multiplying, maybe we're like subtracting, maybe we're adding, so it just depends. But you still need to follow your order of operations. So Pemdas. All right, parentheses, exponents, multiplying from left to right, adding, subtracting from left to right. So when I'm looking at this, I see I have some multiplication here, but then some adding here. So what do I do first, multiply or add? Multiply. So multiply this monomial times these two terms inside the parentheses. What's negative 2 times 3? Negative 6, good. And x times x? X squared. And then the next term. So what's negative 2x times negative 4? Positive 8x is correct. All right. Then bring down whatever remains. So like this plus 7, just rewrite it down here, or this plus 7x, sorry. And then look at what remains. Are there any like terms that I need to combine? So I have 8x and 7x that can combine. What do they combine into? 15x. And don't forget, like, don't get all the rules confused. When you just combine like terms, you don't change the variable at all. It's still x to the first. Bring down what was over here. So the negative 6x squared. Any more like terms? Is it in standard form? So then box it up. And then we're finished. All right, so that's about it. Over here in number 16, I have some multiplying in a couple different spots, and then I have subtracting. So what do I do first? Multiply. So start from left to right. So we'll distribute. What do I get from distributing? Is that 100% correct the way I wrote it? What am I missing? So this first one should be w squared. So the w times w, good. All right, and then yeah, 5w times 3 is 15w. Over here, I also need to multiply, so we can kind of do that now. So distribute that and multiply it out. What do you get from distributing that one? Negative 2w times 13 is what? Negative 26w. And negative 2w times negative 9w squared. Good. And sorry, I'm just a little bit up there. But yes, positive 18w cubed. So then look at what you have left, like any operations that you need to do. So are there any like terms I can combine? What are they? And what do you get when you combine them? Positive or negative 11? Negative 11w. And then bring the other stuff down. And we're kind of running out of time, sorry. But the next thing you would do is make sure that it's in standard form. So I'll just rewrite it in standard form and we'll talk about it more tomorrow. So just make sure it looks like this on your paper. All right, in alphabetical order with a higher exponent.